I go to ABC Company and I get my mortgage. They approve me, they fund the loan, they do all of that. 3 weeks later, I get a notice that says your loan has been sold to Mr. Cooper. It's been sold to Wells Fargo, whatever the heck it is. In many cases, there's confusion about exactly what happened. And so, like, who actually buys the mortgages and how do the servicing rights get transferred from one company to another? Does that question make sense?
It does.
Okay,
It
perfect.
does, and it depends on a few different variables. But the interesting thing I think to know is that the owner of the actual note,
Yep.
the person who is earning the income on the interest payments that you earn, that you make each month, is not necessarily the company that's servicing the loan. In fact, it probably is not. What we think of as our mortgage holder is just who we're making our check out to, but that's just the servicer of the loan in most instances.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding that. So, John, you're the borrower, and you get your loan from, let's just say, Capital City Home Loans. And let's say I am an investor in mortgage backed securities. And so you make the loan, you get the loan from Capital City Home Loans. Then, because Capital City Home Loans needs more money to continue to loan and make loans, they sell the loan to Cleve Gaddis. I've never bought a mortgage like that, but let's just say I'm an institutional investor. They sell the mortgage to me. And then I decide, and let's just say in your case, because I know Capital City Home Loans does service some mortgages, I decided that I want Capital City Home Loans to service the mortgage for me. So the servicer is simply collecting the payments and managing my escrow account and dealing with me if I miss payments. And they're being paid, so Capital City Home Loans would be paid a small fee on a monthly basis by me as the investor. Have I described that correctly, or am I totally off base?
That's perfect. And then you expand that instead of one loan, you expand it into multiple hundreds of $1 million worth of loans that are being serviced by any company and then maybe owned by multiple different investors across the different platforms.
We received a question from Jacob in Atlanta. It says, our mortgage was just sold to a bank we've never heard of. What happens now if the bank goes bankrupt? We have heard a lot of layoffs happening in the mortgage industry. And I think they might be looking for, Jacob might be thinking, maybe if my lender goes bankrupt, I might get a get out of jail free card. I don't have to pay my mortgage payment. But I don't see any way that that's possible for that to happen. John?
Oh, no, the servicing of that mortgage, of Jacob's mortgage, is an asset. So the bankruptcy courts would look at Jacob's mortgage, the servicing rights of that mortgage, and sell it off to someone else to pay that lender's or that servicer's debt. And try to make good on that. So that's what the role of a bankruptcy court would be. And Jacob would just get another notice saying, "Hey, your loan's been sold to a different servicer," and then they would be responsible for collecting Jacob's payment.
Sorry, Jacob. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but whatever your mortgage payment is and however long it says you need to pay it, you better plan on doing that, or maybe paying it off early. And I'm sure that he was not really looking for a way to get out of it, but it is confusing. We also received a listener question from Guy and Fiona in Marietta saying it seems like AI is everywhere. Is it going to affect the real estate market? And if so, how? Will agents be replaced in the future? And John, we'll do a kind of a quick round. Will AI replace real estate agents in the future?
I think real estate agents and mortgage professionals' role will change as we gain more and more help from technology, just like we've seen it change over the last 20 years. I imagine you're not carrying around a big, 4 phone book size MLS book to search for listings like we did 30 years ago. So, things change, but the need for human interaction during the home buying process, whether that's on the real estate or the mortgage side, I don't see that ever going away. I mean, humans are built for connection, and that is something that is going to be required with such a complex and important moment in someone's life as the buying a home.
Yeah, and I do not think AI will replace lenders. I do not think it will replace real estate agents. I think it will cause real estate agents, and in some cases lenders. You are great, John, at helping people understand the options that they have, and sometimes even encouraging people to do something that's not very profitable for you, but it's the right thing for them. And I think the reality is that those of us in real estate and the mortgage business will learn to use AI to help us be better educated so we can better educate the clients so that they will have very clear distinctions between the choices. Because when I do my financing, I could pay this rate or I could pay and buy the rate down just a little bit. And AI allows us to run those numbers and understand everything so much easier. You agree with what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's just going to be another tool in our toolbox, a resource that will help us serve the public better at a higher level.
And I have used artificial intelligence for different things. You can do incredible real estate research. You can, research zip codes and see what's happening in the neighborhoods. Anywhere where you can get to public data, artificial intelligence can help you have a significant amount more information. But for me, artificial intelligence helps me with other things. And I'll give you an example that's a personal example. One of my daughters said, "Hey, for Christmas this year, Dad, would you just maybe write me a letter or write me a poem or write something for me, do something for me?" And I wrote it, but when I wrote it, it sounded like a 55-year-old businessman wrote it. And I didn't want it to sound like a 55-year-old businessman had written it. So I loaded it up into AI and I said, "Please write this or rewrite this where it's appropriate for a 24-year-old or a 25-year-old. And the suggestions that it came back with were just amazing. And so I think there's so many uses for artificial intelligence, but I do not think it is going to replace a real estate professional or a mortgage professional. Each week, we pick one specific Metro Atlanta neighborhood to call out critical changes in that neighborhood, in the market, real estate market in that neighborhood over the last few years, to help you identify as a homeowner in the neighborhood whether or not you have a particular advantage when it comes to selling a home in the neighborhood. And this week, we have picked Hampton Place in Duluth. If you are taking I-85 north, you'll exit Duluth Highway, which is 120. You'll go east. You'll turn left on McDaniel, and the neighborhood is on the right. It is very, very close to I-85 and the intersection of Duluth Highway. If we take a look at what the neighborhood has to offer, it is a swim tennis community with a clubhouse and a playground. It has good access to I-85 and also Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, Buford Highway. It's walking distance to McDaniel Farm Park with 134 acres, which offers miles of paved walking trails and pavilions and playgrounds and 2 dog parks. It's home to the historic McDaniel Farm, restored to depict a typical 1930s Gwinnett County farm. It's 10 minutes to downtown Duluth with seasonal events and concerts and shopping and restaurant and entertainment venues. It's 15 minutes to the Southeastern Railway Museum, which has the largest collection of rolling stock in Georgia, real trains, cars, and buses that have been part of Georgia's history. And it's 15 minutes to Shorty Howell Park, a 67-acre park. I used to play football in Shorty Howell Park when I was a kid, going to Summer Iowa Middle School and Norcross High School. It's a 67-acre park with an activity building and a community rook, multi-purpose fields, lighted walking track, baseball and softball fields, playgrounds, and a lake. Hampton Place seems to be right in the middle of pretty much everything. Let's take a look at what's happened in the neighborhood over the last few years. In 2021, 15 homes sold. We believe there's 227 homes in the neighborhood. Sometimes it's hard to get a totally accurate count without driving through the neighborhood and counting. So if I'm off just a little bit, I apologize, but that's what we believe it is. In 2021, there were 15 homes that sold. They took an average of 21 days from listing to contract. The average sales price was $423,253. The low sales price was $345,000. The high sales price $485,000. Homes sold for 2.1% more than they were listed for. In 2022, 16 homes sold. They took an average of 18 days, which was a decrease from the 21 days it took in 2021, and the average sales price went up $75,000 to $505,369. The low sales price was $459,900. The high sales price $550,000, which was a full $65,000 higher than the high in the prior year. Homes sold for 1.4% more than they were listed for. In 2023, we had 11 homes sold. They took an average of 15 days, so it went from 21 to 18 to 15. Unusual. Normally, the days on the market increased in 2023. And the average sales price increased another $10,000 to $515,586. The prices ranged from a low of $474,900 to a high of $600,000. So in 2 years, the high price went from $485,000 to $550,000 to $600,000. So the high price increased $115,000. Homes in the neighborhood in 2023 sold for 0.5% more than they were listed for. There are currently 3 homes listed for sale. They range from a low asking price of $539,000 to a high asking price of $650,000, with the average list price being $613,000. There are currently 3.6 months worth of inventory, which means you're at the high end of a seller's market. We believe if you have less than 4 months worth of inventory, it is a seller's market. 4 and 5 months worth of inventory is a balanced market. Over 5 months worth of inventory is a buyer's market. In 2012, the average home in Hampton Place sold for $198,745, which means when you look at the $515,586 average sales price in 2023, those 227 homeowners, plus or minus in the neighborhood, have increased their equity in the homes to the tune of $72 million. Sometimes people think it's kind of gauche for me to talk about money and equity gain, but the reality is equity in homes is one of the biggest contributing factors to household net worth in the United States of America. The elementary school that serves Hampton Place is Harris Elementary School. The middle school and the high school are both Duluth Middle School and Duluth High School.